As AI music generators continue to get more insane and just ridiculous of how good they are, this new feature from Suno AI Generator is kind of blowing my mind, maybe even more than anything I've seen from an AI music generator. This is just genuinely wild. And that is this. You can now upload audio to Suno and it will create songs and use this audio in a song that it'll create on its own. This is actually, this is insane to me. I'm not joking. I actually think this is more impressive than just creating a song from scratch for a few different reasons I'll talk about a bit later in this video. So what I did is I got 5 samples from Splice. One huge rule about this in terms of Suno's uploading music process is you need to have the legal rights of everything you're uploading. So I legally own these samples because I got them off Splice. I picked 5 kind of different ones just to show you how crazy this tool is now. So first I have a Moombahton sample. Right? So typical like Moombahton beat. Then I have this kind of like deep house vocal effect. Right? Then I have this song starter, in case you don't know. When it comes to a lot of like sample kits and sample packs that you can get, sometimes I have like a song starter that's meant to be like a riff that's good to start your song with, hence the name. So this is like a techno big room one. Then I have just a very dry vocal line.
Brace yourself for the bass. Brace yourself for the bass. Brace yourself.
Right? And then lastly, I have a kind of like a vocal splice, vocal chop melody type sample. Right? So, pulling up Suno now, I started with, where is it? The Moombahton drum loop. Now what I did is I uploaded it, and then once I did, I went to extend it. So that's what you do, right? You pretty much go, can I do it here? I go here, I hit extend, select a couple different options, and then boom. So it created these first, right? And these had lyrics in them. So keep in mind, it created the melody, the lyrics, everything, and this is what came out.
Rain falls down,
So I was like, all right.
soft and
But then, you can hear that same Moombahton beat subtly in the background. Especially if I go like maybe a little bit back here. Right? That to me is mind-blowing. I'm not gonna lie, because I think this is way more impressive that it can take a sample, analyze it, and in some of these cases that I'll show you, warp it, chop it up or pitch it down, analyze maybe the key of that sample, and then create a song based off that key. It just, you know. Right, then it created this one as well. Each one, they create 2 iterations of each one. So, kind of like an upbeat tropical, you know. And what's crazy about this to me is that means I could just upload any sample from Splice, or I could make my own. And like saying like, oh, this is kind of like a cool sample that I just found. I'm gonna make a song around it, which happens to me a lot. Like I feel like a lot of the times, like people ask me, how do you initially start a song? And every song's a little bit different. Let me adjust this microphone. I just realized the pop filter is, let me tighten it. Just realized the pop filter got a little out of place. Anyway, you know, I think it's interesting because a lot of times people ask me, how do you start a song? That's a big thing that I hear a lot. And it does depend song to song, being honest. It depends song to song. But a lot of times it's usually from like a sample from Splice that I hear, and I'm like, oh, and then immediately a song pops into my head, like an idea. So I almost build a song around it with that sample as like the initial starting point. And in this case, would I even have to do that? Now, here's that sample again. I re-uploaded it for some reason, and then I made a Moombahton song. Because I was like, all right, you know, this is a Moombahton sample. What if I asked it to make a Moomba record? And starts, which I kind of like how they did it. So initially, it starts with the sample. I'm like, all right. But then I extended it. So I said, make me an entire, almost 4-minute song. So we have this, and I was like, okay, nothing too crazy. But then, almost kind of like trancey techno style feel. And I was like, all right, I'm kind of feeling this. It's kind of almost like, I don't even know what I'd call it. Not bad sound design, like pretty decent quality in terms of the plucks. A bit dead mousey. I might like feels like a bit of a progressive nature in this section. Brings back in the principal sample, right? And it kind of loops a lot. But it's kind of insane. Again, that same thing here. That same drum sample you can hear. All these layers already on top of it. That to me is just insane. So going down the line, now we have these song starters. Which is just one I kind of had a feeling where it would go, right? So going in right into it. So I typed techno for this one. So each one I had to give a description of what to do. So you can hear that kick drum already on it. Like this groove right here, that like the bass line. And when I noticed it, it would bring the sample in here and here. Almost like a call and response. Like that's a pretty solid groove. And also like a really creative, I'd say, approach to taking the sample now and making like a cool techno record out of it. Right, then made this one. This one almost sounds a bit more trancey to me. Now you can tell they definitely edited that sample a little bit. So the production on this one's a little bit meh, I'll be honest. The snare kick isn't as tight as I'd like it to be, but I mean, but you can see what I mean, how this is getting insane. This one was weird. I'm not gonna lie. This is the one that I feel like they kind of dropped the ball on. So we have this. This one. Kind of a cool start, but it was only 10 seconds. So I don't know. So it's kind of interesting. You never know, again, using AI for anything. It almost seems like they took the do-o-o and like pluckified it or like synthesized it, because that's what it seems like they did in this one now. It seems like they almost turned it into a pluck and then based a melody based off that pluck with the same kind of panning. That to me is crazy that they took the same engineering of that sound pretty awesome so far. Right? Nice piano melody as well to complement it. Skip ahead a little bit. And again, this is all based off that one do sample, right? Then I have this one.
Brace yourself for the bass. Brace yourself for the bass.
So I made two songs, and you can see kind of the description that I put. I wanted to make a song as a style of hip-hop house. Typically, this is more like a G house sound, which is kind of like hip-hop house, really pioneered by like Destructo and whatnot. But I wasn't sure if the AI would know what G house means. I feel like that's a very like descriptive or a very like niche genre, I feel like, when it comes to EDM. But I made this.
Brace yourself for the bass. Brace yourself for the bass. Brace yourself
Right?
for
And then
the
if I skip ahead.
Brace yourself for the bass. Brace yourself for the bass.
Pretty, I mean, pretty solid. Kind of gives you like tech house-ish vibes. Right? Then this one though was crazy because what it did is, it's interesting as well. It kind of messed up, but I guess in a good way. I told it for these songs, make it instrumental. Don't have lyrics. But in a couple of these, they do have lyrics. And with this one, it made the lyrics and made the voice that it created out of thin air to match this sample, which to me is even more wild,
For
right?
the bass.
So I'll
Brace
see
yourself for
same
the
kind of
bass.
sample in the
Brace
beginning,
yourself
and then
for the
bit funky, jazzy, you know,
wanna do, and we wanna do.
right?
You get me wanna do, baby, wanna do the soul way you wanna do the soul way you wanna do.
I mean,
Brace
yeah,
yourself for the bass.
that to me is pretty crazy that like it mirrored it and then like matched it perfectly in its own style of it. I mean, this one is just wild to me. And then lastly, we have this vocal splicing one. This one came out okay, I'll be honest. These next two, I also did these ahead. Sometimes live on camera, I'll like make an AI song and then like comment on it. These I noticed took a little bit longer than just making a song from scratch, which made sense because this had to both analyze the song, the sample, I'd say, because the sample has to be anywhere between 6 seconds and 60 seconds. On average, these were like, I don't know, you can probably see like this one was 7 seconds. So I had to analyze it, make its own song in a sense, and then make its own elements based off it and combine them all. So it's basically like in a sense remixing these samples. Essentially, it's remixing while adding its own elements and whatnot. So I made this. A melody to now complement it, which again, really cool. Right. So this one was okay to me. Then we have this. Again, another complement of melody. And then takes it in its own direction. And then now, another vocal, which sounds very similar to that original sample. Right, super similar to like the original sample. You can see with this like I didn't know any better. I would think this is the same singer, same I think they'd be in the same sample pack. Right? And I'm waiting and at some point brings it back in, I believe. Right? Like super similar, like just insane. Now for me, that may be one of the most insane AI music things I've seen yet. I mean, AI music's gotten a lot more powerful. It's kind of cool, I will say, on this channel that I've been doing more and more videos about AI music just because it's super interesting to hear. But it's also kind of crazy, like looking back at my former videos, or I posted one, I think like, I know it was like a year ago or something, when I was like, wow, this entire album was made with AI music. And it was, you know, it was interesting being like, whoa, AI made this. But it wasn't anything mind-blowing. But now this is getting even more wild. And this to me is like just crazy because the fact that, let's say, I could find any sample on Splice, and as opposed to me being like, all right, this is a good song starter, this is a good movement on beat, this is a good vocal riff or vocal chop or vocal splice or whatever, or vocal slice, I guess, and then just input it to Suno, and then it creates a whole song for me. I mean, that to me is pretty wild, especially with some of these songs being like, wow, like this is actually like a really good idea. For example, that techno one, right? The fact that I was like, you know what, with that song starter and everything, like, how could you take this? What I want to add in like a warehouse vibe, what I want to be like more of like a rolling techno feel, what I want to bring it like to more of a big room feel, the big room style 4-on-the-floor kick drum. And it made these two different iterations of it, which Suno does for every single instance or a request that you have. both insane, right? This to me is just, it's kind of cool to see, but also I'm just like, again, I've said this before in every other video, so I know I sound like a broken record. I feel like we're still just scratching the surface. But this to me is, I don't know. I feel like what I thought was interesting about AI music before that kind of scared me, like a lot of other musicians and creatives, right? If, like, say you're a script writer, you're an author, right? Of course, a lot of people, if you're a graphic designer, a lot of people are worried about AI taking over their jobs, especially in the creative fields of how fast things are moving. And then I'm like, you know what? I mean, I'm kind of scared from AI from the perspective that if, like, say, go on Spotify, let's say I'm on Spotify and I'm just listening to EDM, I have it on EDM radio. There's a chance, actually a very good chance, in the next 5 or 10 years, and I want to do a dedicated video about this, that half the songs you listen to might be AI and you don't know it. It may get to the point in music where you don't know, is this AI or not? But that's more from I think, a perspective of someone being like, well, I'm just going to make AI music and upload it. And I've gotten a lot of comments and questions on this channel of people saying, hey, Mark, I make AI music. I don't know that much about music. I know people who are not musically inclined at all who just type in a prompt or description and makes a song. They upload it on DistroKid as their own song. They don't have to know anything about music. But in this case, this is like the first time I think I've seen AI be used in a tool way for musicians, in the sense that, like, say if I found a sample and I want to get ideas of how I could use this sample. Like, say, in this instance of, like, say I really want to make a song with this one particular riff and I don't know how I want to spin it, like, probably felt like I could even take some of these melodies, download them, of course, and then maybe, like, chop them up and then almost make, like, a remix of an AI song that was made based off this sample, right? And I feel like this is, like, the first time I've seen almost AI music being used in a different way. Not just in a way of, like, maybe a song about In and Out that sounds like a rock song, right? Where you could just kind of do it sometimes just for fun, but also you can upload it being like, oh, look at this AI song that I made in a second. But this is like, I almost look at it as like a really good tool. For better or for worse, how would you use it? I don't know, but I don't know. This is one of those wild things to me that it is pretty, and they just released this feature. So again, this is like in its very infancy stages. But the fact that, again, I can upload a sample, as you heard, and it'll create a song based off that sample after analyzing it, make counter melodies to complement it, the fact that it'll add in elements to mirror and match it, the fact that it'll use it and pitch it up, pitch it down, and then in addition, the fact that it'll create, which I think is even crazier, melodies, synths, or even vocals that almost match it exactly to make it more similar. So that way it sounds almost like it was from the same sample pack or from the same singer. I mean, I was even wondering, I could probably myself, maybe I'll do this in the next video, like sing something on my own and then upload it and then see like what it does with that. Like, it just, AI music's just getting crazier. And this feature, I'm telling you, I did not expect it to be this good. It's wild.